Being recorded. Continue.
Recording in progress. There's a really nasal American voice when it does that. So I'm Gary from the Brussels Yoga Loft, and I'm here today with Richard Gordon Kelly, which is a nice little in joke we have about your name, don't we, Rich? And we're talking about masculinity and what does it mean to be a man? What does masculinity mean to us? The reason we're doing this is because we are running a retreat at the end of August. It would have been a really good idea to have the dates right in front of me, wouldn't it? Do we have the dates at the top of our heads of that retreat?
26th, 27th, 28th, something like that?
Something like that, I think. Let's just get that, because that would be really professional. Obviously, being a man and masculinity doesn't mean being professional and prepared by the looks of it.
We're all professionals.
We're all professionals. August 26th.
Just with different hats on.
We're running a men's retreat. So we decided, as part of this, of the build up to this retreat, is to just have these little kind of mini chats about being a man and masculinity in today's world. And I don't know how we can compare it to anything else, though, because this is the only experience I know. So I don't really know what it's like for men in other times of their lives. I really only can understand what it's like here, and I'm sure you can only really understand what it's like there as well. But we thought we'd have a talk about it, see if anything resonates with other people listening to this. And as part of this, if you've got any questions that we can tackle in the next little chat, then please send them in to us, comment on this video. Yeah, I think that's about it, really. So, Richard, do you want to say anything, add anything to that?
No, I think it's great that we're doing these small videos to share for men, especially, and men who don't talk, which is a group that I run, and Gary's involved in that as well as one of the members. Mm-hmm. And it's quite interesting that how illustrates how men don't talk about things.
Yeah.
We get shy about talking about things, or we think it's not important and we keep it under the carpet. So masculinity is a great one to start with.
Yeah.
And sharing how we see it. I mean, everyone's going to have their own perception of things. And we've talked about this before, Gary. Yeah?
I know, but it's interesting you say that, isn't it? Because I do notice that everybody seems to have a voice about masculinity nowadays, and I don't really hear a lot of men talking about it. It seems because men don't talk, and I don't know whether that's a fear about us speaking our truth of masculinity and how it's experienced for us, or it's just that's something that's within the experience of being a man, is that, you know, you generally don't talk about things. You know, you keep it to yourself.
Does it kind of shy away from them being who they can be?
Maybe, I think so. So I do see men talking about things. Yeah. I do see men talking to other men in certain groups and in certain environments. But it's always around a subject. It's always like when you're going fishing, or I'm not going to particularly male sports here, or you're in the rugby club, or, you know. And I said to you the other day, I'm on a Facebook group that is all about video gaming. But the amount of kind of emotional sharing that goes on in that group is really surprising. And you know, just that was my wife. I sound like the one, don't want to talk to her. So
there's another sign of masculinity there coming up.
Yeah,
there we go.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me just turn this phone off. There we go. Yeah, so I do see it happening, but it does tend to be that it's only that when we get into a major crisis that we talk, don't you think? It's like when we have no other options, it's like, oh, I really need to talk about something or share something. And even then, maybe we don't really look at ourselves that much. I forgot what the original question was now that I had all this kind of interruptions with the phone.
Yeah, it's how we show this masculinity, and if it's necessary, and what does it bring to us if we do show it, and what does it bring to us if we don't show it? I mean, that's the big question. I've been I've been running around picking up my children today because they finished their exams early. So I've been, running around. I'm a divorced father, but it means I'm taking on my roles and responsibilities, not only being a father, but an adult, but also offering support but also that opportunity to be with my children at the same time. And it doesn't mean that we shy away from having a 2-hour conversation with them or anything like that. We just don't see it as a priority. We see priorities, masculinities. We've got to prove that we could do something really strong and we can do this. It's great, but it's not great.
Yeah, I think just echo what I said at the beginning, is that masculinity becomes what everybody else says it is. Masculinity seems to be what everybody else says it is, rather than how
it
it's
is for us.
experienced for you.
Yeah.
What it is for you, and how it's experienced here. For me, masculinity. I mean, I know there's definitely a kind of a cultural discussion about things at the moment, but a lot of the cultural discussion, the less helpful part of that discussion are things that we're focusing too much on. That there's a lot of cultural discussion about toxic masculinity, and I don't think it's helpful to label anything essentially bad or good in any kind of way, because there is just masculinity and how it's experienced. There's not like flavors of it.
No, it's not like you go into a bookshelf. You go into a library and pick off your favorite masculinity label.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
today.
What's my favorite masculinity label today? Oh, I'm in touch with this side of it, or this side of it, or this side of it. No, there's just an expression of masculinity. There's an expression. For me, it's about energy. So there's an expression of energy through this body, and some of it is a masculine expression, and some is a feminine expression. Or if you want to use non-gender terms, people can talk about moon and the sun, but whatever. There's I'm a yoga teacher, you can tell that thing. There's an expression of energy that comes through in a certain way, and it appears to me that in certain body types it is expressed in a way that's different from other body types, should we say, if I'm trying to be really kind of walk that fine line of language nowadays. And how it's experienced here is experienced as like you say, as a need to be responsible, as a need to be a caring and present father, as a need to be a caring and present spouse as well. I'm not saying that I achieve those things all the time, and that sometimes I'm not present for people and I'm not responsible, and there are times where we don't live up to the ideals that we're putting on ourselves.
But so what?
Yeah, so what?
So what? I mean, truthfully and honestly, it's in that moment where like as it is, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we get caught up in rushing around, thinking we've got to be like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not the case.
No.
It's
no,
actually,
I don't have.
Yeah, it's slowing down even.
Yeah.
It's just actually slowing down and appreciating. We're having a man-to-man conversation here, and that's it. It can be a woman-to-woman conversation. It doesn't really matter.
No, exactly. No, the ideas of what it should or shouldn't be are something that are given to us. And once I drop those concepts about who I should or shouldn't be as a man, I find then that I can just naturally express whatever's happening here and allow it to come out, and not be afraid of it coming out in some ways as well. I was discussing with my wife recently about finding my voice in terms of anger in some way, because I used to be, because the one thing I think men, if they can end up doing if they don't just allow themselves to be and express themselves, is that they can hold back all emotion, rather than just, you can't selectively turn off emotion. You can't say, oh, I'm just not going to have this. It's like you have a leaky tap in the bathroom, so I have to turn off all the water to the house, and that means I can't have a refreshing shower, but at least I got rid of that leak in the bathroom. And we were talking recently about, finding my voice in terms of anger, and expressing it in a healthy way and showing it in a healthy way, rather than, pushing it away and trying to contain it because, I'm so scared of the effects of it. It's like, no, I can be angry and I can express anger, and I can show anger in a certain way, but I don't have to let it be something that that is destructive or destroys things. It doesn't have to be that kind of force. It can just be expressed in the moment without any constraints around it. And I think
what you're saying there about the anger, well, if I may come back to it, is it that you are looking internally and judging yourself?
Yeah, that I couldn't. That I can't express anger. It's not something that's allowed, because people will move away from it. But what happens then is you end up pushing it, and it will come out in a way anyway. It will come out in some form or way that is unhealthy.
And the funny thing is, Gary, people pick it up even if you don't say it.
Huh? Exactly. Yeah. And but then that goes for any kind of emotion, is that if you don't express it in a way, because you've got some idea of what masculinity or being a man is, we don't talk about that, or I don't show anger, I don't show sadness, I don't show love, I don't show compassion. But for me, they're all available to me as a human being, and I should allow all of them to be here and express all of them whenever they're here, and not push them away in any kind of way, or try to make them into something that they're not, other than just an expression of what's ever happened.
Well, I as we've been talking about this expression, I'm just looking behind the sceneries of both of us here. I've got my flowery peacock that my wife has chosen because it is her office, but she finds it wonderful. And I must admit, I love the background. I like it because it cuts off. Yours is you're renovating your house.
I'm renovating my house. Look, I've got wallpaper off the walls.
but it's just expressing. That doesn't really mean anything.
No.
That's what we're trying to say to everyone listening. It doesn't mean, it's about who you're being and who you're sharing, and being the truth. Being the truth is being who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you do become angry, it's okay to be angry. You can be upset with some people. But if you know that in the moment, and you know where it's coming from, that understanding of why it's happened, then you can let it go.
Yeah,
it's when you can. If you don't continue, if you don't let it, if you allow it to manifest, it takes you in a totally different direction. And then you're showing your masculinity in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's because I allow it to express itself without, and knowing that it's coming from here and it's not coming from over there, from an object that's over there. There's never any danger of it getting out of control, because it's never being placed on something. So because it's not being placed on something, then it means I'm not blaming that object over there for the occurrence of anger. So anger can come out in an authentic way, and it can be expressed in an authentic way, and the object doesn't get blamed for it. It's like, no, there's anger here and it needs to come out. But equally, if I place love on an object over there, because we talk about anger, because we say, that's easy with anger, it's fine. It's like nobody wants to put anger on an object, but you don't want to put love on an object either, because if you put love on an object, then you end up using that object to get love, and it can happen the other way around. And then I instead of blaming that object for anger, I'm now using that object to get love, and I'm then trying to manipulate that object or please that object in some way to get love from it, which is equally as destructive.
Exactly. I think a lot of people do that with their mobiles.
Yes.
I love my mobile.
Exactly.
I really love my mobile.
Exactly. And you saying like, oh, I can it's like I say, I'm here, sat here with the renovations going. on behind me, and it's like, yeah, this is who I am. This is who I am in this moment. You're sat there with a floral pattern and peacocks behind you, going, yeah, well, this is, without allowing those two things to define you in any way. And you can expand that out now to a societal context and say, well, I'm not allowing that out there to define what's happening here. I'm not allowing the ideas or the cultural narrative or whatever that person over there says masculinity is. I'm just allowing it to be expressed here. And if you can find that space within yourself, then you find that you naturally stay in balance and at peace, because there's never anything happening that isn't just a natural expression of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's actually some of the key takeaways that people would actually get from going on the retreat.
Yeah.
The fact of being aware and that ability to just slow down. Even that interpretation of slowing down can be difficult and misunderstanding for many people. But that's the listening also, and going within yourself. I think what you've highlighted there are points that they would take away with them, them coming onto the retreat.
Indeed. So I think as a kind of a short sort of discussion into masculinity, I think we can leave it there, can't we?
Yeah, why not? Next one comes up.
Next one comes up. So whatever, if that's brought anything up for you, any questions, any feelings, any thoughts, and you'd like us to clarify anything, or talk about any aspect of what it means to be a man, masculinity, then just put it in the comments below, reach out to us. You can find me and Richard through our own social media channels or here at the Yoga Loft. But I'd just like to thank you for coming on for this short chat, and thank anybody who took the time to watch the video as well.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. Take care soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.